Welcome to the Regular Joe's podcast. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry Kay.
And I'm Todd Pleasant.
In 1977, when Star Trek and Star Wars was everything to you, at least it was to me. I mean, Star Trek earlier, certainly at 19... That's all I thought about. Comic books, Star Trek, Star Wars. Would you have thought 45 years later there's things coming up that are as exciting as it was back then?
No. And I would also say that I think the rate at which stuff is coming is just unimaginable in those terms. You know, we spent years looking forward to a singular project, and we're getting weekly content, and it's just amazing.
Well, and when Luke sat with Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was telling Luke about, you know, I fought with your father in the Clone Wars. Did we ever think we'd see that? Let alone like what we're about to see. I mean, we're going to get into the trailer and everything, but the confrontation between Obi-Wan and Owen Lars is like, I've been waiting 45 years for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about today, just so you know. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer. There was a teaser. Now there's, I guess,
a little more of a teaser.
I guess a trailer.
Yeah, they're calling it a trailer, but you know.
I mean, we're 22 days out.
Yeah.
So it's a trailer. And a new Star Trek. And that's the funny... And the crazy thing is, you know, it's been 45 years, at least since 1977, when it was like, that was everything. I feel like there's been a lot of stuff, but I'm excited about these two things. I'm excited, and we talked about last time, Kenobi and Strange New Worlds, you know? Even though next gen, this feels different. So it's a very exciting time, and we're going to be talking about two very exciting things. Well, we've seen both.
Well, we've seen a trailer for one, and we've seen the first episode, or some of us have seen the second episode
I was
of the other.
Actually thinking about this today. I was just up for a ride, and I was thinking that I fully expect for the next, month or so, the three things I'm most excited about, these will be two of those three things. And the third position is going to vary depending on what of the 7 million things is currently airing.
Yeah.
But I think these are they're the core right now.
Well, and I have to ask you this: when are we all seeing Doctor Strange? I'm not seeing it till next Thursday.
I will see it tomorrow evening. I would be watching it right at this moment, if not for this. So
I probably won't see it until after next Thursday. Hopefully that weekend.
Okay. All right, so that'll be something we'll talk about in 2 weeks then.
Yeah, and just like I said, I will not spoil it for you guys, but boy, just watch it because
I know
it really.
I think there are already spoilers.
That's
out
what I was
there,
just saying. I was just verifying my random topics, and there's already spoilers out there.
I know, it's funny because as we sit right now, as we record this, and I have just watched Strange New Worlds. I'm being bombarded with potential Moon Knight series finale spoilers, Picard finale spoilers, Strange New Worlds, Madness or Universe of Madness or whatever the hell that's called. It's a freaking landmine out there.
There's a lot, yeah.
That's why I got to get through some of this shit. I did finish Ozark.
Well, that's
okay. I've got 3 to go, so
I have 2 more, so I've got to get that.
Oh, really? I sort of pulled ahead. Well, I've been sort of just not doing a lot.
You totally totted it. I mean, you dove in and took it.
Well, it's funny
because
because I'm also watching. What am I watching? So, in addition to the things I just mentioned, I've been watching The Offer on the Godfather.
I haven't started that yet.
Watching The Flight Attendant. And last night I sit down and I'm like, okay, between all these things, I have something new. None of them, they all come out Thursday.
Yeah, I was ready to watch Picard last night, and I'm like, damn it doesn't come out till tomorrow.
So, Strange New Worlds wasn't out, Picard wasn't out, Offer wasn't out, Flight Attendant wasn't out. I'm like, oh, I might as well finish freaking Ozark.
Sean got me started on Outer Range, which is really good. It's not fast by any stretch of the imagination, but it
with Thanos is the one with Thanos.
Yeah, it's the one with Thanos. Yes,
Brolin. Yeah,
and it seems really good. It seems like it's going somewhere interesting. The pace is not super fast, but it seems well done and seems like it's going to be good. And it's like it's like one more thing I got to keep track of. I have like 3 or 4 things that I got to finish. It is amazing that we're complaining about this stuff, but
I'm not complaining. I keep forgetting. Barry's out there too.
Got Barry. I got to go back and finish. I got to finish Severance. And
I never watched Upload.
Upload.
I never started.
Yep. I'm halfway
Severance.
through Upload. Yeah. Well, look, we complained a year ago that there was nothing to watch, and now
there's a lot.
There's
and
a lot.
I think
there's
that's
more.
exactly what it is, Barry. We were talking about last time. I think it's a lot of these things got pushed back, and because of production schedules because of COVID, and now it's just the floodgates are open.
Yeah.
So
this is not spoiling anything. I just have a question about Ozark, and this question, and I've always thought this at least the past year, but even before I watched the finale, because it has nothing to do with the finale or anything. I think who's the real villain in this? I think Wendy's the freaking
God,
Wendy.
yes.
100% Wendy.
yes,
Okay, good.
and
I'm
that
glad
is
I'm not the only one who
okay,
thinks
but
that.
This is the good thing about the series is she was not. Okay, and I think they pivoted her character in a way that makes the show much more interesting. When you look at a show from the beginning to the end, and everybody's basically the same character, but they've been on an interesting ride, that's okay. But she has evolved in a observable way to be a very different character than she was at the beginning.
She is
she's
power
despicable.
hungry and ruthless and doesn't care who she has to hurt or kill to get what she wants.
She is.
Yeah, and I don't think Marty thinks that way at all. I think Marty is just in it.
If you're going to compare this to Breaking Bad, she is Walter White. She's making decisions based on she's just self-justifying decisions, based on what like the good of her family and all this kind of stuff like this. But it's her own wants and needs driving it, and he ultimately admitted that at the end of the series in that great scene with Skylar. And I don't know if she would ever admit it. So
Well, and I don't think this gives anything away at all. But she has a line, and I don't remember if it's in the third to last episode or the fourth to last episode. But she basically says, "I know I'm difficult to love," and it's you're difficult to love because you're freaking insane.
That line, her father said that to her, and then she says that a bunch of times.
She says it to Marty, and then she also says it to her father later. But yeah,
I feel like she says it to get a little pity. She's incredibly manipulative.
Oh, she's incredibly manipulative, and I also think one of the very telling things about her was I think going back to the thing about when she was a kid, the sneaking into houses and messing with people thing and stuff like that. I think she's somebody who spent her entire life presenting herself as one person, but has other inner drives and inner things, and is pushing against who she is at the same point as accepting it. And yeah, I don't know where it goes, but I think I think it's very well written, and I think he was more the window you look at everything happening through, as opposed to the one driving everything, because he spent a lot of time reacting.
I think he would have got them out of it had it not been for her.
Yeah. Well, towards the end, again, I'm not giving anything away. She's making decisions that are not in her or her family's best interest. She's just driving.
No, they're in her best
gonna say,
interest, or at least she thinks they are.
They're in her best interest if she can survive them.
No.
But she's making bad decisions.
But she thinks, what can get me what I want right now? Anyway,
that scene in the first half of the last season. So this was 2 months ago, where Darlene Snell is having the heart attack, and she just sits down on the ground with a smile on her face. That just showed how evil she's become, and I love that.
That's like Walter White with Jessica Jones.
Except that she was unconscious, okay, and part of her pleasure was letting this woman nearly die, watching her nearly die. She was enjoying that woman's helplessness, whereas Walter White he made a decision that in his mind was best for him and best for Jesse, taking this woman off the board, or letting this woman expire. This was pure vengeance. That was okay. I don't have to lift a finger, and you're going to die in front of me. And
that was one of the best scenes.
The whole thing, series. I gotta say that the characters in this are brilliant. It's I was very resistant to watching it. I'm glad I did. It's not Breaking Bad. It's a very different thing, and for a lot of reasons. It's good. I think I'm going to be sad when it's over. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. There's a little half-hour wrap-up thing that's okay to watch. It's nice to see the behind the scenes a little bit because just Ruth and her normal voice. Cause
Well, I watched that other show she was on where she played the fake Russian heiress, and her accent was all over the map on that too. So I don't even know what that actress sounds like in real life.
I did watch an interview with her, and where she was talking about the accent that she was being, she was basically being coached to overlap or, have a German accent on top of a Russian accent, and I think and ending up with something totally indeterminate, but while she's talking about it, it's like, well, you don't sound like either of those characters,
Right.
So,
yeah. I don't remember what she sounded like in The Americans either. So, okay, let's go some random. That was random for you. That was like true random. But let's do some quick random. Todd, what do you got?
Okay, a couple quick Marvel things. Karen Gillan has said that this may be that Guardians Volume 3 may be Nebula's final chapter, and she basically wrote a tweet that kind of sounds like a goodbye, and she said she enjoyed the character more than any other she's ever played. Sorry, Doctor Who, and that it was one hell of a decade, and so that's kind of I think we're very much seeing. We already know Dave Bautista said this is, his last time at bat.
Are they even allowed to say stuff like that, or
this
is
is where
just
I'm going
subterfuge?
with this.
I'm sure they're being told
misdirection. Is this like Marvel saying you can say this, this, and this, and trying to spin it in one way or another? But I find it interesting to see two of those characters have already indicated that this is their last or leaving that it's last at bat, and we have no idea.
The thing is that it's not Star-Lord or Gamora or Rocket, so like they are even Drax to some degree could be considered a secondary character. So it doesn't mean that
but I also
we won't
feel
see.
Barry, I also feel like she could be elsewhere. She could be used elsewhere in that universe too. So she's not saying the last time I'm going to appear in a Guardians film. She's saying the end of this character. So
it doesn't come out for a year.
James Gunn has also said it's going to be say something now? Sad, so maybe they.
I don't know how manipulative all this stuff is.
And that's what I'm saying. And I think probably more than probably either more or less than we imagine.
Who's not manipulative?
No, we're not there yet. Okay.
No, I'm not there yet. Tom Cruise.
Okay.
I just watched the red carpet of Top Gun Maverick, and Barry, remember when we saw him at the tennis game or something where he looked bad?
Yep.
Doesn't look bad at all.
Okay.
He however many souls he had to swallow, he's looking good.
Yeah, he hadn't.
Was our girl Haley there with him?
And thin. And he came in. They had the premiere on the Midway aircraft carrier, and he came in on a helicopter, and his hair is blowing,
and then repelled.
What'd you say?
No, I'm sorry.
No, he was in a suit, so he just came down. And then his hair looks a little longer, I guess for Mission Impossible. And the wind's blowing. I'm like, you don't even see any gray at the like someone who would dye it.
That's right.
Well, look at my hair. We're about the same age. My hair doesn't look gray, and I don't dye it.
Was Haley with him? Because I don't think they're dating.
No, they're not dating.
No.
I didn't
they were publicists dating.
Yeah,
but Jennifer, what's her face? Connelly was there. Anyway,
yeah.
The good news is Tom looks great. That's all
that makes me
and
so
he's
happy.
Even signing autographs and stuff.
Well, he puts on a good show for the public. He always does. I mean,
I got no problem with the guy.
I don't mean that.
Filmmaker.
I didn't mean that negatively. I'm just saying he always puts on a good show for the public when he's doing these things.
There was something I mentioned this at one point previously, but they referred to him. It was an article and something that referred to him as the last movie star. And I more and more often I think that's true. I mean, he's got a very carefully crafted image, and he does certain projects and he does what he does well. And I just don't think that exists really anymore. And
it's funny. Yeah, they were talking to him, and every movie he does, they were interviewing him, and then Jerry Bruckheimer was talking about him. It's not like I'm hiring. Who's the biggest actor in the world? I'm hiring George Clooney. It's not George Clooney. Whoever it is, he's so much. And this isn't me fangirling only about him, but he's he is in control of. Don't Crystal Skull because he's awesome. He's in control of the whole thing, the whole movie.
That's the other part of that.
I'm trying to think who else is like him. He's like, was there anyone like that? He is in control of the whole process.
And that's
Tom
what I'm
Hanks
saying.
in some things,
There's a machine around him, and he's driving that machine. The other thing is, there's a lot of actors who are contemporaries, maybe slightly younger, slightly older, who keep seeking out roles that are very different than anything else they've done, and he understands what he's successful in, and he keeps pivoting on that, and I think it's very smart. It's a lot of.
But he will occasionally do something that's like totally out of left field, and then then he goes back to Mission Impossible, and then he goes back to. I mean, what was Tropic Thunder? His character in Tropic Thunder was very different.
To that,
but those are not the films that you most associate with him. The Magnolia.
Well, singing movie. What's that one?
Oh yeah, I forget the name of it, but I know which one you're talking about.
That thing that was a play.
Yeah. Rock of Ages.
Rock of Ages. I mean, like, what possible reason would he do that for? He has no reason to do that.
Yeah.
Man does not make a bad movie. That's all I'm saying.
I would differ, but anyways,
name a bad movie he's made.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how well Top Gun and the next Mission Impossible do at the theater, because that'll prove whether he's still the last real movie star or not. There's a lot of movies aren't doing as well at the box office as
Dave, I would agree with the last 10 years, but that's where I'm saying I think that's the tightly controlled period.
He's really,
That's the very structured thing where, like I said, he's making very smart decisions, and including the timing of his movies, the releases of his movies, all that stuff, and that's that. This is his era.
He waited, It'd be interesting to see what happens with this. Yeah. I feel like. There's been a handful of big movies at the box office. Spider-Man. Has there been anything since Spider-Man? Batman.
But that's what I mean. Like, okay, so the big tentpole comic book movies are still performing. Will Top Gun perform as well?
Top Gun's a franchise film, and so is, for that matter, if you want to say the other one is a sequel. So.
Well, I mean, Top Gun is only a franchise film because it's a sequel to a 30, 40-year-old movie.
No, I'm saying Top Gun's. I'm sorry. Top Gun is a sequel, and Mission Impossible is a franchise film.
Okay,
sorry, I got that backwards. Anyways, those, I would say, those aren't going to break the mold. Those are the ones that I think are going to perform a lot more predictably. The big question is whether somebody can carve something new out of whole cloth, and whether that can get in, can break into those things. And I just don't know that. I don't know that we're at that point yet. That anything else can build the draw that these things have.
You know what I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays
Fanboy
out?
Collectibles? No.
Well, no. Avatar. The first sequel to Avatar comes out at Christmas, and I've heard Cameron came out and said, because I guess they did that CinemaCon thing last week. The hell it is. So Cameron said that all 4 sequels are independent films. They're not cliffhangers that lead to the next film. Well, probably partly because that way they don't have to make all 4. If the first one flops, then it's not a cliffhanger to anything. It's its own movie, and it didn't do well, and then maybe he doesn't make the next 3.
I just find it amazing that was an incredibly enjoyable movie when it came out, for sure. It's still the biggest box office movie out there, I think.
Because they re-released it not that long ago, and it pushed it over.
But does that even make sense to you? No. I wouldn't think twice to go watch that again. I just find it amazing.
I haven't watched that movie
revisited that
10 years.
outside of the 3D experience that I had in the theater. And I don't know.
I bought it at home and watched it, but I'm not putting it down. It was enjoyable. It's good. I just don't get it.
Well, that's why
it's Dances with Wolves with Aliens. Okay,
and supposedly, I think the ground that they're breaking now is that a lot of this next one takes place underwater. So he claims to have perfected motion capture for water, and so. But is that going to be groundbreaking enough? I mean, the 3D was groundbreaking in its time. Nobody cares about 3D anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Is this going to be a technological breakthrough that's going to make people want to go see it? I don't know.
And it's a, 10-year-old movie?
Yeah.
No, it's
More
like
than that?
13, isn't it?
13? I'm more interested in Top Gun, I guess, because of Tom Cruise. But if I'm searching the channels, I'll stop on Top Gun for 10 minutes. I don't think I'd stop on Avatar.
No, and they released few photos of it, and it's the same blue people. I mean, it's like
It's one of those things that, like, great, interested, loved it. I totally am happy I saw it. I don't need to think about it again.
At Disney, we were walking around the Avatar area, and there's a lot of people there, and there's people buying stuff.
It's an awesome ride.
And it's like, and I'm like, is this because they couldn't get anywhere else, or is this really still this
It's because
strong?
it's one of the most advanced rides in all of Disney, and
But
people want to ride the
people
ride.
walking around with merch, and I don't know whether
Yeah,
that's
weird. That's interesting.
Is that the moment that you're there, you're caught up in it? But there's 8-year-old kids clinging to these $45 action figures, and
Exit through the gift shop. It's
That's weird because
that's what I'm saying. It just strikes me.
I don't even think they show it. Well, I guess they do show people. I feel like they probably could have renamed that as something completely different, and it still probably would have had to draw. I mean, these days, I guess.
I don't know.
Is there anything
I just don't. That was really surprising to me. That was probably the biggest surprise we had when we were there. Was like I said that there were that many people there, that line was that long a wait.
But
and that
Disney
when we went into the gift
down.
shop,
I mean,
that there were that many people like lining up to buy hats and stuff.
The fact that they've invested
that's weird.
so much money in that section of the theme park and in these new movies, they're expecting it to be big. We'll see.
Crazy.
We'll see.
Crazy.
Yep.
Anyway, what else has anyone else got?
I was going to say that Moon Knight will either be renewed or it won't. It's
Well put.
There are, again, people are making statements to say there's definitely no plans to continue it. Oscar Isaac, the director, saying, I hope that we get to tell more of the story. But really bizarrely, Marvel changed a tweet last week. I don't know if you read this, where they had referred to this as the series finale. And they took the tweet down and changed it to season finale, which is just an odd thing. I don't know whether this is like misdirection and they're trying to like gin up, interest so that they can say, people wanted to come back, or they just don't know. But if this is not a spoiler, there was nothing at the end of the last episode that said that Moon Knight will return in season 2, as we saw with Loki. So we shall see. And I'll let you, before we talk any more about it, I'll let you guys get caught up. But
I got to finish it.
It's kind of an odd place to be, and I think Loki's the only one that they announced the second season for, correct? And that was in your face at the end of it. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it ended in the middle of the story. They kind of had to.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah,
I'd be fine if if they didn't.
Later, basically. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's not. I mean, give me another Hawkeye.
Me too.
I would too.
So I know we're running a little bit long on random, but yesterday, as we record this, was May the 4th, and there was a bunch of Star Wars stuff announced. So by now, I'm sure everybody's seen or heard about a lot of it. But since we're such big Hot Toys guys, I did want to mention. Apparently, this is the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones this year, and Hot Toys announced 5 new Attack of the Clones Star Wars figures yesterday, and then today they posted something saying there's more coming. So they're re-releasing R2-D2. Looks like they've dirtied him up a little bit, and now he comes with a tow rope with C-3PO's head, like that scene in Attack of the Clones. They're releasing a C-3PO, which I don't...
But he also has a zillion gadgets. I always thought, like, R2 was at his best in that movie because he did so much stuff.
Yeah,
he did all kinds of crazy stuff. That was
the Swiss Army R2. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the one you get.
Yeah. Well, and they released that version already. The only difference, I think, is that they've weathered him up a little more, and now
they
he's
had
got
all those
the head.
attachments.
Yeah, they had because if you remember, Sideshow released an R2, then Hot Toys released it, and the Hot Toys one had all that stuff. They're releasing a C-3PO, which I don't think they've ever done. I think the only 3PO that's out there is the Sideshow one. And he's beat to shit and all dirty and looks really awesome. And he's die-cast.
He's die-cast.
He is. Unlike the Sideshow one, which is plastic. I love the Sideshow one, but I'm tempted to get this new one. Oh. They've got 2 clone troopers, a regular clone trooper, and a clone trooper pilot. Both look good. For what they are, they look exactly like what they should. And then they've got a battle droid that looks really cool. And he comes with the C-3PO head. And I think
that's funny. I didn't catch that.
3PO comes with the battle droid head too. So and they're releasing. Cool. They're announcing more. There was a shot of one of these figures that they put up the other day that in the foreground looked like Mace Windu, but you couldn't see him. So I'm sure there's a Mace Windu coming. They teased a Padme like 3 years ago. So we'll see if they announce more. Yeah. But so those were announced. There was a Hasbro had a bunch of stuff. They had an Obi-Wan lightsaber, Force FX lightsaber from the new series, which looks really cool. Feels a little on the pricey side to me. At $249.
It is metal, which is unlike the
Well, no, all the Force effects and aren't all the
I think
Galaxy's
most of
Edge
them are,
ones metal?
And the
Galaxy's Edge ones, but the previous Hasbro ones are metal. I think they're metal and plastic, and this supposedly says there's more metal in this than.
But if they do one at Galaxy's Edge, it'll be $50 cheaper, even if you buy a blade with it. Probably.
Right.
I mean, so.
I wonder if they'll release one. I have 3 Obi-Wans, plus I have the Force Effects one. I don't think I get another one.
Yeah,
I still need one, and
I've got the Master Replicas one from 20 years ago
from the series. So,
yeah, no, the series one was cool.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, the other thing worth mentioning was DisneyShop.com or whatever, ShopDisney.com had a set of Ahsoka lightsabers in a wooden box that when you open the lid, the music plays just like the set that I talked about a few months ago that our friend Brian got for me of the Legacy lightsabers, but. It sold 8,000 of them in 7 minutes, so I wasn't able to get one.
One of the interesting things that was released yesterday was set photos of Mark Hamill on the set of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I saw that.
In costume.
Well, they released yesterday for May the 4th. They released the Disney Gallery for Book of Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett.
I know they had another actor doing this. I'm sure this was strictly kind of like a pose thing and publicity thing and just doing the, whatever. But it's just interesting to see like him doing all the, posed in the same poses, as the actor playing him.
Well, they said he
was on set. I wonder if the actor studied him to get the mannerisms and that's kind of what
that was where I was going, Dave. I mean, is this, here you're going for the gestures and you're going for the head tilts and that kind of things. I don't know, but to go
do you
right
need
down
to do?
He could have done that in street clothes, but
it's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even if this is just strictly, it's the fact that he's there, and I think it's great. So
Favreau and Filoni are like, we got to get Mark in Jedi outfit. We got to get him down here. This is going to be the best.
So.
Favreau and Filoni are playing with life-size action figures at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
pretty much.
They're living out their dream. I would do the
same.
And
if you want life-size action figures, you know where you go? Well, you don't go to Fanboy Collectibles, but I don't know where you go. But they got all the other action figures. All those Hot Toys that Barry mentioned are up for pre-order, so check those out. There's a ton of stuff up for pre-order. Iron Studios has 3 Spider-Man statues, one of each of the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland Spider-Mans from the last movie, which are very cool. I can imagine them all together. There's a Hasbro Mjolnir, or whatever his name is, the hammer, Thor's hammer from the new movie, like electronic hammer that they have up for pre-order.
Oh, that's cool.
So that does look cool, with all the cracks in it and stuff. That's already, it's a pre-order, so it's already out there. So check all that stuff out, and all the normal stuff. The Pops and the Sideshow and the Kotobukias and all kinds of Hot Toys. Check them out at their store in Newtown, Connecticut. Check them out online. I'm drinking on it in the middle of this.
Okay, so to finish what I was saying before the early launch of the ad.
I'm not done. Wait. I didn't say.
Tell them the regular Joe sent you. Okay, now time.
At their store and not at the online thing at what is it? Fanboycollectibles.com.
Okay, so anyways, to complete what I was saying, I think it is great that the people involved in these projects are treating Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker with the reverence and respect that he didn't see in the sequels. So.
Okay, fair enough.
And he didn't. And he's owed that.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. So that was a long time. That was a freaking long time. Yeah, Jesus. All right, so yesterday, as on May the 4th, Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer came out. The hair on the back of my neck was standing up for a good 10 minutes after. I got to tell you, it's very exciting.
There's a lot of stuff in a very short trailer. They crammed a ton of stuff in there. I've watched it a bunch of times because I kept looking for things, and every time I watched it, I saw something different. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
My one big thing that I kept saying over and over again is they've got to get him off Tatooine. And they get him off Tatooine.
Yeah, he's definitely off Tatooine.
That is a great thing. Though there is some of that there, but still, this is what, we all in our heads just, had him in that little hut. We needed to see some other story. And we needed to see other things that we don't know and we can't picture. And there's clearly a lot of this hair there. And he didn't just, apparently he didn't just sit in the hut and spy on Luke, which is terrific.
Well, they've given us the name of that new planet in, I think it was Entertainment Weekly. It's called Dayu, and they said it's like Hong Kong, like the look and feel of it is like very Hong Kong-esque.
It looked like he's beating up a lot of people without using his lightsaber, which is kind of cool.
He can't.
He's a gun.
He can't use his lightsaber.
I know, you can't.
Which is why when he finally pulls it out, it's going to be a big deal. But
yeah.
And
that line
got
a blaster.
And that line from Revenge of the Sith when he's like so uncivilized, with the blaster. He doesn't like blasters, and the fact that he's being forced to use one is just kind of fun.
And he's fighting people, he's doing looks like judo or whatever.
So the guy that's playing the Grand Inquisitor, we knew from Homeland. So unrecognizable now with the white face paint and the whole thing, but he was great in is Rupert Friend or Fiend? I don't know.
Oh, the dude who played what's his face?
Yeah. I'm drawing a blank on his name myself. And the
guy who sort of died just horribly. Oh, spoilers.
Yeah. If anybody hasn't seen Homeland,
Season 7.
But he's great in Homeland.
I didn't realize that was him. That's interesting. And then there's always these hangers-on who have lightsabers on the dark side. It's like, you're not. Are you Sith? Or you're sort of Sith, and you carry a lightsaber
because
anyway?
You haven't seen Clone Wars and Rebels. You don't really know the history there, but. Those are the Inquisitors. There's 10 of them. And they were tasked by Darth Vader after Order 66 to hunt down the remaining Jedi and either capture or kill them. So there's been a bunch we've seen with them through the animated shows. They are, but I don't know. But they're not.
Are they Force?
They are either former Jedi or Force sensitive. So. That Grand Inquisitor.
I think they're Force sensitive.
According to the
former Jedi.
Un-Jedi trained Force sensitives.
So are they like when an electrician
I don't know if that's
has apprentices who don't have a license but still do the work?
No, I mean, so the Grand Inquisitor was supposedly one of the guards at the Jedi Temple when Ahsoka got banished. So, I don't know if they're officially trained as Jedi, but they're definitely in the Jedi fold. Some of them. But also
remember that everybody who was Force sensitive didn't get Jedi training, and some of those were kept in the orbit of the Jedi. But so these could be called from that because not everyone got the because some were too late, some were found too late. So that's the guy that you hired. You make a guard or a janitor.
Well, and it's confusing because they use red lightsabers, and we associate red lightsabers with the Sith.
Yeah.
And we associate double-bladed spinning lightsabers with Darth Maul. They are bad guys. They work for Darth Vader.
Well, there you go. Okay. So there's a lot of those guys.
And we saw there was some crazy stuff with that Grand Inquisitor. I mean, he I forget which dead Jedi's corpse he reanimated. There was all kinds of crazy. It was Luminara. Was it Luminara or was it the other one? Barriss Offee. I think it was Barriss Offee.
Oh, those were both Jedi, and they turned to be... Oh, you're saying those are the Jedi's, the corpse they used?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember them from one of the books.
Yeah, there was some crazy stuff with that. But
That's not good.
So, and it's interesting, there's a scene where the Grand Inquisitor is talking to two other Inquisitors, and they're looking over a Mac table. Behind them is a shelf with lightsabers on it. And it almost seems like, I'm speculating, but like, are those the lightsabers of the Jedi that they've hunted and killed?
Oh, yeah, those are trophies.
Yeah, so
that's what I
pretty
got.
Sick.
I saw that, and I was like, oh, yeah, those are trophies. So.
Yeah, so that was cool. There's black stormtroopers that are called purge troopers that are working with the Inquisitors, and those I think are from their Jedi Fallen Order video game. So they're bringing some of that stuff in, but they're a cool design because they're kind of like a stormtrooper, but they've got the shoulder pauldron, but it's black armor. It's pretty cool. What else did I see in there? There's a shot where Obi-Wan is firing a blaster, and behind him you can see a destroyed probe droid. And there's a shot in the trailer where there's three pods that are shot out of a ship, and it looks like maybe those are how they deployed the probe droids. So it's interesting. Like, did they find Obi-Wan on Tatooine with a probe droid, or like because Obi-Wan is on Tatooine and there's a destroyed probe droid and a dead stormtrooper next to him.
I would guess that's shot.
Yeah. What else? Just the whole thing with Uncle Owen. I wonder what your perspective is on this. But so obviously we see there's the scene where Obi-Wan says to Owen that Luke must be trained when he's ready, and Owen's like, oh yeah, like you did with his father, you did a great job there. But what do we think Owen knows? Does Owen know that Anakin is Darth Vader, or do we just know that Anakin died?
Think he must.
You think he knows he's Darth Vader? No, I think he's following the story that he was killed. I think it was. I think he's. Yeah, I don't think so. That's interesting, Barry. I hadn't even considered that. I assumed he was.
But that's what it made me think about, like
that he was Obi-Wan's pupil, and Obi-Wan couldn't keep him alive.
Right.
That's an interesting thing. I would have thought he knew who he was.
But that's what, because he's basically saying, to Obi-Wan, leave us alone. Like, you're bringing danger to our family. You just even being around Luke.
Right, exactly. And that's what I'm saying.
But does he know about Darth Vader, or does he just know that Anakin Skywalker died?
My money is on he thinks Anakin is one of the slaughtered Jedi.
Yeah, could be. I wonder if we'll find that out. Interesting.
I thought it was interesting because like Owen and Beru took this kid in, and they know that he was Anakin's kid. But if they knew he was Darth Vader's kid,
but hiding the child of a murdered Jedi still is perilous.
Yeah. I would go with that because they also, at least at the time, Darth Vader wasn't a thing when he dropped Luke off.
And you've got those parallel tracks too, where basically Kenobi is telling two different stories, or he's keeping two different stories alive, and one that Luke was the best star pilot ever, or that Anakin was the best star pilot ever, and that he died in the Clone Wars, and I think that's the public story, and I think that's what he said when he took the baby back to them. I think he said Yeah.
And that's interesting. So if you go to the original Star Wars and, when they're having breakfast and Beru is like, he's got too much of his father in him.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid. But he says, that's what I'm afraid of.
Right. Because his father, like Luke, ultimately, his father wasn't content staying on Tatooine. He had to go off and find adventures.
And then does the world, does the galaxy know, even 10 years into it, does everybody know Darth Vader? I mean, in World War II, everyone knew Hitler's the bad guy, but did they know, the Emperor?
Exactly.
Did they know Rommel? He's the worst guy ever,
actually,
or whoever.
They did, but I think they probably knew less about the guy running the SS than they knew about Rommel and the Goring and other people like that. So,
but if you think about it, though. So Klieg Lars married Shmi Skywalker, but Anakin was already gone at that point. Anakin shows up in Attack of the Clones and meets Owen for the first time.
Right.
And then he leaves, and maybe never sees him again.
And basically, is the
and then Obi-Wan shows up 10 years later with a kid, or a couple years later with a kid, and says
he is the prodigal son that the mother spent her entire life talking about, his entire young life talking about. Okay, but he never met until he showed up, and so there's resentment there.
And here he comes, murders a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Shows up, rescues his mother, she dies, he freaks out, leaves.
And then Obi-Wan shows up with his kid and says, "Here, you have to protect this kid." And if you think about it from that point of view, they call him Uncle Owen, but he barely knew Anakin.
Well, a lot of people call people their uncle when they're not. I think it's more.
Well, right, but a lot of people don't get asked to raise that person's child when they're killed.
Yeah, I also think that
we always thought Uncle Owen, he grew up. I mean, there was a big family connection.
Yeah, yeah.
He was his father's stepwife's, father's second wife's, or whatever.
He is Anakin's stepbrother.
He's a stepbrother.
Anakin's stepbrother, but there's a lot of distance there. And then somebody shows up. A Jedi shows up and says, "I need you to raise my."
If you apply the kind of frontier model to that, which makes sense, that's what you do. People die, you raise you raise your kin. I mean that's how it works. So I think that makes perfect sense. I also think that had Lars been on his own, it wouldn't have gone down that way. But the fact that they were a young couple, who were at that point childless, I think. I think it makes perfect sense.
And the fact that their last name was Skywalker, which is a perfect place to hide a kid.
Yeah.
When
it ends for the two of them.
Possibly before the Skywalker is the equivalent of Smith or Jones in that universe.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure.
All right, a couple other quick things. It looks like the droid that Obi-Wan is fighting is Forlom, or a type of Forlom droid, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, totally.
We see for a half a second Kumail Nanjiani's character, who looks terrified.
He looks like he ice froze it. It looks like he's in Jedi outfit.
It does.
I don't know if that's true.
I wonder if he's like one of the Jedi that's on the run. And
is he going to come in and ruin this movie the way he ruined?
He's going to be the one that Obi-Wan fails to rescue.
Could be.
But he definitely looks like he's in a Jedi robe. I don't know if that's true.
My last note was the Vader scene where they're plugging the pieces onto
putting them together. Oh my god!
And the chest box has these long probes that go into his chest. It looked painful.
Yeah, and I'm watching it, it's like, is this the first time this happened, or do you have to do this every couple of months? I mean, is that scheduled service?
I bet you it's every time he comes out of the bacta tank. They got to put him back together.
He comes out of the thing and yeah.
I couldn't be more
it's so
excited.
funny, It's like it's helping him breathe. So why wouldn't it be poking into his lungs?
Right. So they probably, while he's being treated, they probably have hoses that go in place of that or something. But
I think it's just. I think they use corks.
Oh,
yeah.
It's just like, excuse me, Lord Vader. Let me just.
It's a little cork.
Pop the little.
It's a cork
out.
man.
Okay, we're gonna take the service plugs out now and reapply your application. Hold still.
Oh.
This will hurt tremendously.
It's like the scene in Last Jedi when Finn's tubes are blowing all over the place and there's liquid pouring out of them. No,
not familiar with what you're talking
anything
about.
to Last Jedi.
No.
So, and then at the very end of the trailer, because the last teaser we got, there was a blue lightsaber cutting through, and in this one it was the red Darth Vader.
There's a red light. Oh my god, they're so clever. And the poster, if you haven't seen the poster, there's a second poster. It's awesome. Big full shot of Obi-Wan with Vader in the background on the high ground, no less, of like a little mountaintop,
which is also strategically placed at the center of Obi-Wan's chest. So there's some interesting symbolism there.
Oh my god, I'm gonna cry.
And that, I think the final thing it's the final thing is the the lightsaber swoosh over the Disney thing.
That's what we just said.
Yes.
Yeah. So awesome. So.
I know we said this about Strange New Worlds, and we'll talk about Strange New Worlds in a minute. And when Todd and I saw the episode over the weekend, we just looked at each other after it ended, and I'm like, they didn't fuck it up. And I just hope to God I can say the same thing after we watch Obi-Wan.
I just hope to God, yeah. So
They They can't.
With
They really
everything
can't.
they did with this, and the fact that it was going to be a movie, and then it was going to be a show, and then they rewrote the whole script. I mean, hopefully everything they did was all for the better.
I think I think there's a track for him that they know what to do with him where they clearly didn't know what to do with Boba Fett. And I think there's, I think we know the Obi-Wan we want to see. I don't think we knew the Boba Fett that we wanted to see unless they just made him a bounty hunter again. And I think that's where this is going to stay on the tracks. So
I also think Ewan McGregor transcends bad material. I'm getting no offense
dialogue.
to the dude who played Boba Fett, but you think, I don't think he is the actor that Ewan is, where he could be like, let's do this instead. Let's say this instead.
I will also say
I will say this. Go ahead, Todd.
He is aged appropriately into that role.
I still think he looks too young. We've talked about it. Did we talk about this, or I talked to someone else about it?
But the lines in his face and stuff like that, which I think they might even be accentuating, he's in that middle space. And
he's 10 years away from Alec Guinness.
Right, I was going to say there's another 10
It's
years
a rough
of hard
10
living.
Oof, it's bad. That freaking sun, those twin suns turn your brown hair
They're
white.
like aging him twice. This is like twice as much, It's like, is it ever night there? It's like we saw dusk. Maybe that lasts like 5 minutes. So
You're riding that freaking slow lizard pony.
That Eopie,
it just bleaches your hair right out.
Yeah, it's a moisture farm. It's not a moisturizer farm. Okay,
Exactly.
It's like
True.
Good stuff.
True.
Oh, the thing I was going to say real quick was
Yes.
in the Book of Boba Fett. I saw the trailer for the Book of Boba Fett gallery, and Kathleen Kennedy's in there talking about how great of an actor Tamara Morrison is.
There you go.
So,
she's as clueless as
what
he
I was
is
just gonna say.
as an actor.
I enjoyed Tamara Morrison's performance a lot, but I wouldn't say he's a great actor.
You did enjoy it?
we don't have to go back.
Yeah,
We're
not going back.
It was
there.
very nuanced.
I'm just saying I did enjoy
It was
it.
very nuanced.
Nuanced.
Well,
it was nuanced in a way.
Just like what's her name in Solo?
We haven't seen since Emilia Clarke.
Emilia Clarke in Solo. Very nuanced.
Yeah.
I love that performance.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds. There will be spoilers, Sharon, Daryl.
And it's out there. And if you're a Star Trek fan, you should be watching this right now because it's that good. And
it's already the best series that's been in the new era here, right?
So, 100%. So the three of us were supposed to.
So why don't you guys?
Yeah, I was just gonna say we were.
Go ahead.
The three of us were supposed to.
Why don't you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, to the. It wasn't the premiere. The premiere was Saturday night last weekend. Sunday there was a screening at the Paley Center in New York.
Paley Center.
For the first two episodes, and the three of us had gotten tickets, and unfortunately Dave wasn't able to join us. So Todd came down, and we went. And not only did they do the screening, but they've got a little exhibit set up there, which I think is the same exhibit that was at Mission Chicago. So it's a lot of costumes.
When I had found that, that's what they were saying. Yeah. But just to stop you there for a second, there are pictures of all those people at the Paley Center, so they must have been there before the premiere, I think.
Yes, they were there. They were not there at the screening. We were waiting to see if somebody was going to come out or whatever, but they didn't. So the exhibit was actually really cool. There was, what would you say? There was maybe 100 people in that theater.
Yeah,
Todd, it didn't feel like a lot of people.
Was it full?
It was full.
Oh yeah, it was full, and they were.
Wait, and it's the big one.
I don't know, but it's the one in the basement of the building.
The big one holds 200.
It's 200. Yeah, I think 100 is too small. I think we were kind of in the middle front, and it widened going back. I could see 200 seats.
Maybe
there.
200.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that one holds.
The sound was really good in there, but when we walked in, I looked at Todd and I'm like, Dave's got a bigger screen in his basement, and maybe you don't, but it felt like you did.
You probably watched it on a larger screen than we did. So
now, compared to the place in Warner building, was it that size? Bigger, smaller?
Much smaller.
Really? Because that wasn't a huge. I guess the screen was.
That
big.
was much smaller, and the screen was much smaller than that.
Wow.
But
okay.
It was packed, and we were talking a little bit to some of the people around us, and I guess when you were leaving, they were handing out those little mini posters or whatever. Yeah. We grabbed those, but so it wasn't like there was any kind of swag or merch, or there was nothing for sale there, but they did have. I guess we'll just talk about the exhibit really quick. They had every main character's costume.
Oh, cool.
So they had all of them. Plus, they had a couple of extra
costumes.
Yeah, I was going to say they have a couple of extra costumes that, like, Spock and, again, we said spoilers, so I'll say it one more time. Spock and his fiance's costumes from the beginning of the first episode.
She's super hot, by the way.
They had a couple of props from that scene. They had the necklace from that scene. And then they had everybody's main costume. What I thought was really cool, and I did take some close-up pictures of it, Dave, and I'll send them to you, but I know you're going to go there anyway. In the JJ costumes, all the costumes have the little icon printed across the whole shirt, which know is very subtle, and you don't see it till you're up close. On these new costumes, the sleeves have their rank insignia printed, so each one is slightly different. So Kirk's
not rank, their service.
The center of the
command,
badge.
science,
engineer. So Barry, I didn't even pick
that.
up on this, but Barry picked this up. The little symbols have the correct for the color for each color, and which is just very subtle.
Yeah. I had seen that in the Mission Chicago pictures.
Yeah, and even like the medical ones had a cross, and the command one had the star with the elongated. So it's just that what I really liked about the costumes was it really felt original series, but it also brought in an element of like the JJ style.
Yeah,
it is definitely a blend between those two.
Yeah,
and I will say the separating the undershirt from the at first I was like very purist, and I was like, oh, the collar should be black the way it was, and then I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, no, because the pilot collars weren't black, and this compromise basically means that like if you're in the pants are black, the undershirt's black, if you take the jersey off, you're in stealth mode. I mean, if you were on an away mission or something like that, and you had to, you
except your boots have the command icon on them.
Your boots
those
have the
boots.
freaking...
Seeing them in person up close, Dave, I almost wish I ordered them. They were pretty freaking cool. Those boots.
They made nice. They really did a good job. But $400 for boots that you probably never wear.
I know, that's the thing. They had the phaser tricorder communicator, which look incredible.
Really, like up close, like what are they? What do they look like?
They look like they're like metal and resin, and that's what it looked like.
Really?
Yeah. I took a couple pictures of like different views because the tricorder looks one way from the front, but if you look at it from the side, it's got more detailing down the side, and really cool, just really cool. And then they had a model of the Enterprise, which is not a filming model, but it's big too. I mean, it was the one that they had at Mission Chicago, but. Todd and I spent a lot of time looking at that model. It was pretty amazing. And just looking at it, taking pictures of it from underneath.
And obviously they had it easy because they had a couple different brilliant three really different examples, two much better than the others to work from. This is influenced by the original, the refit, and clearly the JJ one.
Yeah.
But it's just beautiful. And as we saw, I mean, it just worked. It like the refit, it looks like it's moving when it's standing still, and that's like a beautiful sports car, really. When you look at it, you can't move it, you can't imagine it other than moving, and that's a great job.
So yeah, I mean, and it wasn't a ton of stuff there, but there was enough stuff that
Was there other props? Because I really was noticing there's a lot of...
There weren't any other props.
I think the... from the series, again, not spoilers, but the hypo spray is so much more... It's very cool. The various pads, one very reminiscent of the TOS tablet, then some very next-gen looking,
Yeah, they didn't have any other props, but there was a couple of other costumes where they had multiples for the same character, and just getting a good look at like Uhura's badge, which is different because she's a cadet, which has got the box around it, which was also like Discovery had that,
the Tilly thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was cool stuff.
Yeah.
It was really cool stuff to see. And unlike most of the exhibits you go to, none of it was behind glass. Well, the Enterprise model was, and the
you could touch the if you
the
wanted to,
costumes
you
were
could reach
out,
out and touch the costumes.
and they weren't behind ropes.
Some of them tase you, but yeah.
But you could literally get right up against the material. There was no glass. There were no
Smell
ropes.
it? Did you smell Nurse Chapel's outfit?
No, but we could have.
Yeah, that little little lingerie she was wearing.
Yeah. All right, so let's.
So anyway, the good thing is this exhibit is there at the Paley Center. It's on 52nd Street in Manhattan, and this is not a paid advertisement until the end of May. So you have your chance to go see it. I know I'm going to be going to check it out.
It's worth it. I mean, I don't know what they charge you to get in the door. I think it's like $20.
It's the same $20.
Yeah. So it's $20 to get in. It's a small exhibit, but it's worth it. If you're a Trek fan and you like this stuff, and you should like this because it was awesome, it's worth the $20.
Okay, let's get into the thing because we're already an hour into this. Believe it or not.
Sorry.
So you guys saw it.
Right,
I just saw it today. I liked
why don't
it.
you take point? You saw it most recently, and we saw things we're not supposed to talk about. So you go. Let's give us your impressions first.
You know, it's interesting. I didn't know where they were going, and I wasn't sure where they were starting off. So obviously we saw Pike in Discovery, which, you know, was the best part of Discovery. But this definitely jumps off. Again, spoilers if you haven't seen that. And you should go back and see those couple episodes first. But, you know, the whole Pike in the chair, in the wheelchair in the original series, you know, Pike saw his future. So this is very much a part of him now. I mean, he's almost like, I don't know if I'm quitting Starfleet. I don't know if I could do it. It's very much, you know, it reminded me a little of Star Trek Generations, where Kirk was sort of retired and he needed to come in. It also reminded me of the Stargate movie where Kurt Russell's character had a traumatic event and he was retired, but here comes the service. They need him.
Yeah. There's no question he's not damaged, and he is damaged here. The thing is, can he function with this? And whereas we've had a ridiculous emphasis on psychological stuff and therapy and all this kind of stuff in the recent shows, this feels much more like a soldier with post-traumatic PTSD who's wondering whether he can still function. But what we come to know about this is not just having flashes of images.
Yeah.
This is a complete sensory. He has lived his future already and is reconciling it with his present day existence. He wasn't like getting flashes of that. He was in that moment.
He's experienced the event
of Christopher Pike at that moment, and is trying to see whether he can function.
And knows when. That's the thing I didn't get. I knew he knew what happens, and he knows when it happens. That's messed up.
I think we get in the second episode, but even a higher degree of detail than we imagined. But it puts him in a very difficult position because, again, it's when you have prior knowledge of the future, what does it impact if you try to change that? And can you change it? And B, should you try to change it?
Right. And they even talk about just knowing it. Does it change the type of decisions you would make in certain situations? And are you affecting it positively or negatively, and you don't know?
But it's not. So it's almost. I feel like it's a little. Obviously, this feels like it's going to be the undercurrent of this, at least, series. Hopefully, it's not like, oh my god, it's this freaking arc for 3 years. But if it's always there. But I do think even in the first episode, he's sort of getting wisdom and tidbits from people and experiences. It means like, okay, maybe I could be able to live with that.
And I'm not going to give away anything from the second episode, but
background.
It did feel like it's probably going to be a reoccurring theme. Maybe not even ever in every episode, but it probably will pop up from time to time.
I don't. Think
that's what I'm feeling,
because I think this is ultimately what he's. So this is my solution for this. Okay, I think the Telosians need to show up at some point and suppress his memory.
Can't Spock do that? I was wondering if Spock was going to offer to do that
too. But I think then Spock is setting him up for it to happen. But I think he's going to get to a point where he can't function with this, and I think the Telosians, I think we're going to see what's her name, Vina, show up again as she did in Discovery, and I think they're going to fix him.
Well, we'll see. But so other than that, and that's good. I feel like we said that's going to be the, there was a episode of the week. Number one was out there in a weird space. There was definitely felt like borrowing from TOS. There's a planet who had warring factions, but very much,
or for that matter, the Orville. Okay, I mean, this is a pretty common plot. It's the first contact that goes bad. It's just something, but I think how they pivoted on it was the story.
And I loved the fact that in the opening shots, you're seeing like what until I realized I wasn't seeing humans, and I was trying to figure out what it was, but to see it from the perspective of another race and to see them seeing their first UFO, essentially.
Yes.
We'd never see that.
It was really
that
cool.
was very clever.
Yeah. I will say
it's always
my two nitpicks
from our perspective.
My two nitpicks for the show. Okay, I was very excited. We got to see a Hermes class ship. Okay, you're not going to name a scout after Jonathan Archer. Okay, it's pretty low down the line. And B, how did 3 people crew that ship? But anyways.
Nitpicks.
Also, something was called the Stamets. Like, seriously? Are you going to name drop
I
about
did hear
everything?
Stamets' name thrown in there somewhere, but...
Yeah, it was I don't know what
I
it
really
was.
liked, and I mentioned this to Todd, I really liked that there was a quick mention about Spock's sister and that he was sad that she was gone or whatever.
Hopefully, yeah.
But it was
Let's
nice
all forget about it.
That hopefully that's the last time they'll ever mention it.
Yeah. The thing I would defend in Stamets, if we have a ship named after every other person in every episode, that would be bad. Consider Stamets is pretty much like Edison, and nobody really knows what happened to him. Okay?
Yeah, but
it
it's
seems too
almost
soon.
very contemporary. Too soon.
No, but what I'm saying is,
agree with that.
again, this is a guy who disappeared 5 years before, okay, when Starfleet scooped him up. And, it's just a different thing. So,
I was fine with that, but it very much felt like episode of the week. And you guys, without any spoilers, is episode 2 completely unrelated to the...
Yes.
That I'm so dying for that.
And let me tell you, and again, this gives nothing away. We had been talking a little bit to the guy sitting next to me, and when the second episode ended, he looked at me and he said, "If I'm not mistaken, that was a science fiction show." Yeah. Like, he was so excited that it was like real sci-fi.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, this was great," because he was agreeing with me, before the first episode started, that he didn't really love Discovery wasn't loving Picard.
Yeah, this sort of long arc.
Incredibly, the consensus around us. I was talking to some people behind us who were just like, "God, what was?" It's like what I mean. This started with a guy saying, "Yeah, they got to the point that there's not a Caucasian on Discovery anymore who's straight." It's like it just seems it is what it is. So,
but what they did here, which I loved, was they've established each character right away, and they all had something to do and an important dialogue and a reason to be there.
Yeah,
it's interesting because it was kind of effortless. It wasn't like here's so and so and here's so and so and here's so and so. Very much like we see in a good movie, or what do we? I know I always reference like even I'm trying to think, whether it's a Marvel movie or the Avengers, there's like 10 people and everyone gets, but you sort of got who they were because they were doing something.
Right.
Not explanation.
And they had
who
reasons
they
to be there.
And the thing too is he feels like a real captain. Okay. He's team building all the time. He's acknowledging people. He's acknowledging their roles. He's going to the appropriate person for what they're doing. You know what I actually thought of at one point was the guy who played the captain in The Last Ship, okay, who knew everyone's name, and if he didn't, he would say, "What's their name?" And it's like, and because that's what you do to build the team and build the cohesion and get everybody know.
That's what Tom Cruise does, by the way. He knows
Tom
everyone's
Cruise
name on the set.
Fired this guy, fired that guy, and
Right. And there's something that there's a situation in the second episode where he further builds the team, and you really see him doing it.
But you already. I mean, I don't remember everyone's names, but you know the Sulu and Chekhov, whoever those two people are. You know, obviously Spock and Number One, and the new sort of security officer.
And you know the
lady,
doctor, and you know the
and
nurse.
you know the doctor, you know Nurse Chapel, and you didn't even know, is that Lieutenant Kyle, the dude who's working the transporter?
I think it's a family thing. I think there's a lot of Kyles. I think they're all so.
No, but I think that's,
they did say Lieutenant Kyle. I just don't know if it's the same Lieutenant Kyle.
No, I don't think it's the same lieutenant, but that's the name they use from whatever. So you really got a little bit of. I right now can envision each of them without
absolutely.
You know, you got enough of who everyone is.
And if they stay with the idea that there's significantly fewer people on this ship than there were on Kirk's Enterprise, I think that's actually good. I think you can you will know these people a little bit better, and we'll see them change and evolve as they move along. And because some of these people may not survive, and some of these people may go on to be captains or whatever in their own right. So
he did say, nobody's going to die today. I mean, that I would not start off.
I know it was a little weird.
Someone's dying today. They always do.
Knowing his state of mind, that's why he said that. But
the
thing that I said it to Todd after we watched the first two episodes. To me, it really felt like they did a great job of taking the best of classic Trek and the tone of the JJ universe and mashing them together, because the humor was there and the snappy dialogue was there, but it felt like Star Trek. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
But even the sets and sort of, the little bit of lens flare here or there, some quick moving shots. I really, looking at that Enterprise, it does feel like if you took that crazy J.J. White's thing and mashed it with the original series one.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
But the thing is, too, it just, to me, feels like, it also feels, in some ways, almost more authentic than the original series, in some ways, because it's like, here's a guy who is in this chair who doesn't have to prove it, doesn't have to prove why he's there to anybody. Okay, he's got the experience, he's got the maturity. This is not his first rodeo. Okay, he's I think this. I don't know. He's one of my
even with the trauma that he's dealing with, he's able to put it aside and be the captain.
But I love that he's humble. I love that he's he considers he listens to everybody, but he's going to take the heat for the decisions that he's going to make. It's. This looks like he seems like somebody who would be in command, and
you get the sense that he's like, I get that we're in danger, but let's have fun.
Yeah,
yeah.
And you have the most amazing job in the world. You should be excited about it. When a horse is cool, and he's like, basically, yeah, it is. So, that is the thing, and I think a lot of effort in some of the other characters, the other captains and whatnot, has gone into downplaying the awe at the opportunity that these people have, and he's pushing that forward. He's presenting it, and I think that's great. I texted Barry the other day. One of my favorite lines in this was in the post game briefing afterwards, when they were talking through, the consequences of their actions, and they said that General Order, they were now calling General Order 1 the Prime Directive. And he said, well, that's not going to stick. That's not going to stick. It's just great.
And it was nice to see him, that early on in Starfleet, sort of making his own, the instructions they give you are a roadmap, but you have to, in the moment, make the right call, even if it's not the Starfleet call.
That is the era that these guys are in. This is they're out there. They are out there on the frontier.
He's not Picard.
I love that they establish it's a 5-year mission. And of which hopefully they'll have 2. So
it's interesting. I wonder if they had planned this all out from the beginning, and that's why they sent Discovery to the future, because it's like, we do want to make a show where everyone matters, and it's diverse, and the computer has feelings and all that, and there's no freaking way they could do it in this universe.
Discovery got shuffled to the future as soon as they committed to making the show. I do
That's what I'm
think
saying.
you're
Couldn't
right
they
on
just
that.
have
I don't think
shuffled
this
them
was the
to
plan
not
from the beginning.
being
I
in
think
existence
I don't think
anymore?
when they did season 2 they were planning on doing this. I think this was the huge groundswell of interest, just as they keep saying, in these characters. But I think when they realized they were making this show, they could not make Discovery in this show contemporary.
No,
But if they
couldn't.
hadn't have
You
screwed
can't
up
have
Discovery,
this-
we might not have. I mean, I'm glad we got the show, but had Discovery been on a better track, we might not have needed this show. I'm glad we're getting it. Don't get me wrong.
nice to go. Discovery from the beginning was never like pre TOS. It just never felt.
That's what I'm
that way.
saying.
I mean, they were looking to
They
make.
screwed it up from the beginning.
Yeah, and there has to be a scene where, oh, Captain, the computer feels that. Turn it off.
Yeah.
We're going anyway. Like shut up,
And again,
computer.
I think I just misphrased that because it was actually season 2 where they did go into the future. I think once they realized that they had moved Discovery into the future, I think that's when they realized they had runway to do this. And I'm super excited for this. I was from the beginning. I watched it. I had goosebumps watching this episode a couple times. It just felt. I mean, they're going undercover on that planet and spitballing and Spock saying basically with a totally straight face with no emotion whatsoever, say, "Yes, this is excruciating. I'm in an extreme amount of pain."
Well, and I really liked that Noonien Singh girl was not willing to take the painkillers, and I mean, all of it was just
What's up with that? Like, how many Sing people do we need? I'm a little confused.
Yeah,
Like-
I am fully confident that is going to pay off somehow.
Oh, I'm
I think
sure,
it's gonna
but
pay
is
off,
she?
But it can't pay off hugely in Spock's presence because, I think she's a descendant, but not who of the people that stayed behind, and
we get
guess
backstory on her, and I don't remember which episode
Oh
it
wait,
was in.
her whole family was spoilers eaten by Gorns,
Yeah, I was gonna
right?
say,
All right,
boy,
so then
that
it was in the
was
first
messed
episode,
up
yeah.
story.
Took a dark
Yeah.
turn there.
Yeah.
They slit you open and use your body for
and they
a
let
birthing
one
sack
go,
or what.
and she was the one that they let go.
They
Yeah,
let go. So now I feel better about Lorca having a Gorn skeleton.
Gorn in his office.
So we're gonna run into the Gorn, and are we gonna run into like a dozen of them? That's gonna be awesome.
That will be great. We need some Starfleet on Gorn action, and we need her to be not impartial.
Where was it? Someone is selling the headpiece.
I sent you that. I sent you the thing. I told you that I wanted to buy the Gorn. We need to buy the Gorn mask, stuff it, and mount it like a mounted head, like a.
But where is it? I think it's on Prop Store.
There's a couple different places that have them.
No, but there was a show a movie in the 70s called Spectre that Robert Culp was in. It was and the bad guy is this Asmodeus, and they basically, it was a lot of Star Trek people working. They basically used the Gorn mask.
Oh, interesting.
As the mask of the thing, and I think it's on Prop Store right now.
Anyways,
and it's like $300.
We need
bucks.
get the Gorn mask, and we need to make it like a mounted animal head. I just think that'd be cool to have on the wall. So
I said to Todd, for me, this is the best pilot of all the most recent Star Trek. I think it was better than the Picard pilot, better than the Discovery pilot. Like, I feel like it took them all these seasons of these shows to finally get their balance and get their footing, and this just feels
honestly,
right.
Barry, this might be the best pilot of the whole thing. I can't think of. I mean, Encounter at Farpoint had its problems. The first DS9 was incredibly talky. I don't remember anything from Enterprise, the first episode. I think this.
It was actually pretty good.
Voyager was
this
a
was
decent.
better.
Voyager was a decent first episode.
And again, it's
yeah.
But they had to establish a lot. It was just
yeah. Look, this is a Star Trek I've been waiting for a long time. I've been so disappointed, and hopefully Picard's finale is good. But like, this is the Star Trek I've been waiting for.
Working Robert April in there, okay, was cool. Who was Pike's predecessor, whose only time seen on screen was really in the animated series.
Yeah.
But referenced in the books.
And this is already a more interesting Nurse Chapel than we've ever seen. I mean, they never gave her a lot to do.
Yeah, what's with that hair though? Seems a little 80s.
I like it.
A little Till Tuesday
I
going
like
since
it.
she's
I
on
like
my
and
mind.
I like her character a lot. I love the chase.
She's
thing.
got some. She's got more interesting things going on than Chapel ever had.
Series, she spent like 2/3 of her time pining for Spock, and that was about it.
Yeah,
and
there was a couple exchanges between her and Spock, which I thought were very
that
cool.
was also very interesting. Yes.
Yeah, and that comes up again.
Yeah.
I also we didn't reference the Kirk thing, but that was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, that was a little weird.
I thought it was funny.
I thought but that's his brother.
That is his brother, who was
with the mustache.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
But that's what they.
Oh my god! I just remember. I'm like, why does that guy have a mustache? And then I looked. When they did it, it was Shatner with a mustache.
Played his brother with a different hairstyle and a mustache.
I just put those two together. I'm a little on cold medicine, I get it.
Yeah, from what was the episode?
Operation Annihilate, right?
Yes, yeah. The fried egg in the back thing.
Yeah, but was he ever on the Enterprise? I mean, I guess he could.
Now
he
was.
Well, and he was, and then he got reassigned.
And I think it was in novels and stuff like this where they reference this, but he had, when he got to the point where he left Starfleet to raise his family, but was a few years ahead of Kirk. So this works timeline wise.
Yeah, he was a lieutenant.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's even if you look it up, it's still sort of the original series.
And I thought it was weird that they're bringing Kirk in the first episode. It made no sense, but that's why
I was expecting
something
twist. To happen, like somebody scooped him up for the Farragut or whatever like that, and he missed he missed the flight, he missed whatever that they were going to do. But when then they said, he's coming up, I thought it was a brilliant way to do it. The other thing is
mustache is the funniest thing because I really don't have the recollection even from that episode until I just looked up the picture and it's
I also think
Shatner with the mustache.
Him and Spock should hate each other. They should not get along on any level whatsoever.
I wonder if you think he'll be a character or just sort of a. He's working for Spock, so that's
what I'm saying. And because Spock's like, he's your new boss. And he's like, yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
And he would never reference like, oh yeah, I know you're Captain, as your brother once told me.
As your dead brother there, Captain. Yeah. But
I guess.
This is also the...
Can you imagine if it was like, there's your brother, he's dead. Oh, he used to work for me.
He used to work for me.
Enterprise.
Yeah. I guess it's just not something you bring up. This is kind of transitional Spock in between laughing, smiling cage pilot Spock.
Yeah, there's definitely
much more stoic first officer Spock.
Even he and his girlfriend there both have they're smiling and they're little joking around, little banter. That's the very
the waiter or the whatever that person's role is who comes over and says like, take it somewhere else.
But it's very un-Vulcan like, both of them. Yeah,
but I also think that Vulcans are both, they're not emotionless. They restrain their emotions, and this is all like kept in check through discipline. And I think in emotional circumstances, that that kind of bleeds out a little bit. But also, it's very much protocol, and so like there's a proper time and proper place for everything like that.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So I think we're going to see, he just as he gets older, he's just more disciplined about it. So. Yeah, I like that a lot. It also made you understand why, the whole, amok time thing where, like I said, why is he interested in this woman? What's his thing here? Is this just an obligation? And it's interesting to see that they had an earlier past, and that Pike kept them from getting it on.
Well, I know you've got a balance, and it's a fine line between completely changing the character of Spock, but. It's nice to see him have a little bit more range than
the
original Spock.
He's walking around shirtless. I said to Barry, oh, look, Ethan Peck's. So
it's interesting. So will have a fight at some point, and who will it be, and what's the story? And I wonder if because we did see that little preview with the whatchamacallits. I can't remember the name.
I want to call them gatlets, but I know that's wrong.
No, we just went through this.
Lirpa. Yes, thank you.
We're gonna make new ones too. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we can go on and on about this.
It's awesome. I love it.
It's awesome. It's all good. Let us know what you think. There will be a day when you're gonna watch a new. See, there's lots of new story. A new good Star Trek and a new Star Wars on the same day. We haven't had that yet. We've sort of been dancing around them. You got a Mandalorian with maybe a weak Picard episode, but hopefully it'll be a good day. Anyway, let us know what you think about that. We're going to do a quick What's on My Workbench.
Well, if I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. Regular Joe's What's on My Workbench.
I think I know what Barry's going to do, unless I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You've seen it.
And I've seen it, and it's freaking involved.
I almost showed Todd pictures when I was with him over the weekend, but
you did?
I didn't. Okay. No, I said I almost showed him, but I didn't. All right, so, and I'll do this quick. When I started building models again 7 or 8 years ago, I was exclusively building Star Wars models, and then I decided I wanted to build a Star Trek model. And rather than go with the Enterprise, I decided I wanted to build the Reliant. And I bought the Reliant kit, and I started building it, and I quickly got frustrated with it, and I put it away. And 6 years later, I took it out and decided I wanted to try to finish it. So I have finished my Reliant. Dave's seen some work in progress pictures. Todd has not.
Oh, it's finished.
It's
well, it's not quite. I've got to dull coat it still. It's a little shiny still, but I did gloss coat because the decals go on well over the gloss coat. This has a set of decals that pretty much cover the entire model once you build it.
Wow.
It's insane. And there were over 100 decals. All but one went on properly. There's a spot right there that didn't, and you can't really tell because I pieced together. If you look under the nacelles, there's a decal that's supposed to extend a little bit further, and I cut it so that I could piece that into the one that I screwed up. But the weird thing with this, and this model doesn't come with, it comes with the basic like insignia decals. There's a secondary set of decals you can buy that you basically blanket the entire model in. So I bought those, but you have to do decals as a base, and then like the markings go on over the decals. So you're doing decals on top of decals. Wow. You're using a solvent to make them pull down into the model so it looks like paint. It's really freaking involved. I am satisfied.
But now you're happy with it.
I'm satisfied. I'm not happy.
Because you, at the time, you were still not sure you were going to be satisfied when I saw it.
I will call myself satisfied. I made a lot of mistakes. I see every one of them when I look at it. But
you'll be the only one.
It's done, and it came out pretty good. There's some mistakes. This level of decal work is not for the faint of heart, and
I don't even know how you do that. Is it water slide?
It's all water
or
slide.
water slide with
getting it stuck to my hand.
It's all water slide, and like
but then you put a solvent over it.
Yep. Like there are. So as an example, this top piece here, this arch that goes over the top, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 decals on that.
Oh my god!
And this saucer, each one of the grid lines on the saucer is a pie-shaped decal that you have to piece together. They all fit together. They don't fit properly. I was trimming them as I was laying them down with an X-Acto knife. It's really involved. It was this is the most complicated thing I've built, and I built a Millennium Falcon, like studio scale Falcon. This was harder. Took less time, but there's probably 15 to 20 hours of decal work on this thing.
Wow.
But
awesome.
Looks great, though.
So,
I love that
thank
ship.
you.
I've always liked that ship.
I mean, even, I don't know if that's coming out on, let me shut this off. Like, there are lines on the top of these nacelles. That's multiple decals that have to all join together, and the lines have to line. I mean, it's
that's nutty.
It's crazy. But yeah, it's done, which is the most important part. Because I felt like I couldn't just leave it in the box. I mean, I was literally going to throw it away at one point, and I'm like, no, I will eventually come back. So it took 7 years total to finish this thing, but it's done. So anyway, that's what's been on my workbench. And what did I see you, Dave, a month ago? And I mean, all I've done for the last month is decals. And then I finally assembled it. But now I have to dull coat it, and then I think it'll look a little better when it's not as shiny. So, all right, that's what's on my
amazing
workbench.
that is the first Starfleet ship that we saw that was not a Constitution class. In between the original series and the the first two films. I mean, it was in the second film, but I'm saying we never saw another design of a Starfleet ship before that.
You know what the weird part about, I looked for a lot of reference photos for this as I was doing it. There's not a lot of reference photos at all of the actual model. What there's a ton of reference photos on is the QMX big model that they made.
I was just wondering whether you went there, yeah.
That was the only thing I could find. I mean, I found 2 pictures of this model in the shop as they were building it, but it wasn't enough to really work from.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know even like these gray areas, there's a thin red decal that goes around the entire. I mean, I ended up having to cut those into pieces and piece them together because there was no way to lay it down. And then like the red circles on the bottom of the saucer, like it was just a ton of work. Crazy amount of decal work. But anyway, I mean, the lights are decals that go on top of other decals. And like these yellow things, you had to cut the holes out of the middle and then lay the decal down and then paint these I mean, it was just incredible. Incredible amount of work, I should say, but I'm satisfied with it. So Dave, you had something on your workbench, right?
I do. So I am building a Strange New Worlds communicator. Here, it's in process. So I joined, what's it called? The Star Trek prop builders and prop makers and enthusiasts or something on Facebook, which is an awesome group. So it's people who collect props and also make props. There's a lot of people buying like all the old phasers and stuff that have been made since the 70s, the Brad Nelson phaser, I think we've talked about, and all that stuff. So there's all that. And then there's a lot of people building a prop. So there's a guy on there. His name is Limey Builds, like Limey, who models a ton of stuff. And he has modeled all 3 of the landing party set, the phaser, the communicator, and he just finished the tricorder. So he models them and then he sells them on the plans, just the files on something called CG something or other. I'll let you know what that is in a second. So, and they sell them for like $15. So this, I mean, you can't really, but this is just I've done some sanding, but the modeling is amazing. So these are all in black. So this is like how many pieces? There's 4 body pieces, and then there's the dials and stuff. I printed them on my resin printer. They printed pretty well. I had to ask him a couple questions, which he was great about answering, about how to print them and stuff. But I'm super impressed. I mean, look at I don't know if you could see the
grill. Yeah, you can see all the little holes in the
really
grill.
Nice detail in the modeling and stuff.
And that printed that clean, well. Dave? You didn't have to clean that up at all?
This funny thing, I have not done a ton of resin printing, just little things. So my inclination is to print it like this. So, and I printed this. The problem is when you do this, to do this the right way, you have to use
like this
a ton of supports.
Laying flat horizontal, people. For those of you who don't have video. Horizontal.
And when it does that, it uses a lot of supports, and the supports sort of contort the thing. So this guy, I had emailed him. I'm going to actually drop you a picture.
And I just texted you the pictures that I took of the communicator at the exhibit, just so you have it in case it's helpful for you.
Cool. I just texted you guys a picture of how he told me to print, which I rarely have thought about. So he basically put every single piece in the thing on one build plate standing up.
Yes.
So when I printed I printed the bottom like this, and it printed in an hour. He told me to stand them all up, or he didn't tell me. And I printed all the pieces. It took like 8 hours, but it printed every single piece all at the same time in one print.
Wait, and that mesh printed standing like that well.
The mesh printed, like this.
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
That's crazy.
I think this finally gave me a different perspective on how resin works. Now, to me, I'm feeling like, well, so the way resin prints, it pushes the print against the glass basically with a film in the way and cures the resin. To me, it's like, I feel like if you print it straight up and down, that pressure when it touches may distort it. It doesn't. It hardly is touching it. It's basically like just light doing it. So there's no physical pressure on the models. So all of this. So basically, I printed it, and then all I had to do is clean up the supports on the front here. So you kind of stand it up at a little bit of an angle, and then there's a bunch of supports like that. So I was super impressed. So I got to paint this and do some stuff, but I'm going to do the phaser next because I do think the phaser will fit even on my little printer.
Well, it was 8 hours to print, but if it comes out well, you may have to print 2 more.
I totally will. That's the thing. If because even if I printed them all individually, like this is the only thing that'll fit. So it'll be this.
Right.
So then you know, believe me, the printing it all, pulling them off the plate, the post-processing is a pain in the ass. So the cleaning them, the washing them, the UV curing them, I think it prints better, obviously standing up. The quality is much better. So anyway,
That's cool. I can't wait to see it finished.
If you're into it, go on Facebook, look up Limey Builds, and then you'll find links to stuff he's built, and then where you could go and buy his files. He's probably got 25 Star Trek files in his little sales thing.
Sweet.
All kinds of stuff.
That's great.
Yeah. So, that's... Todd, did you have something on your workbench?
No. I hung a shelf last week, though.
You built the shelf. That's good. And I really feel like I need your workbench to be my resin printing workbench because I'm doing it. I'm waiting for that to go on sale for Father's Day. That Husky thing.
Yeah, it'd be great for that. It would be perfect for that. Yep.
I'm doing it in the workshop, which is dusty, and it's just not the place to be doing 3D printing. So anyway, all right, we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. Star
Trek, Star Wars, all good, very exciting. Hopefully, you guys are watching all that stuff. Todd seems to have a last thought.
I have a last thought. This past week, Neil Adams passed away, and to me, this is kind of, in a lot of ways, very much an end of an era. You know, we lost Denny O'Neil not long ago, and Archie Goodwin was before that, and these were the people that during the Bronze Age of comics really changed things, redefined things, and people talk a lot about Neil Adams' art. He was an interesting man. I had, I think, 3 or 4 encounters with him, some great, some not so great. He could be very brusque and curmudgeonly, and I'm sorry for people who their only interaction with him was on one of those days when he get tired of answering dumb questions. About 4 years ago, at one of the Comic-Cons we were at, there was no one at his table. You guys were off trying to get another interview with somebody. And I had about a 10-minute interaction with him, and I spoke to him and asked him specifically about his why he was the first high-profile industry professional who really pursued creators' rights for other creators. And this is something that is lesser known about him. Again, he's known for his kind of vanguard art style. He's known for Green Arrow, Green Lantern, and integrating modern themes into comics, you know, doing those comics without the comics code, having a huge transformative effect on Batman and how we perceive Batman. But here was a guy who took his position of huge prominence and basically bullied the industry into compensating artists in ways they had not been before. He got artwork that Marvel had in their vaults forever returned to Jack Kirby. And he was instrumental in getting creators' rights to Siegel and Schuster, who created Superman, which they had famously been screwed out of 4 decades earlier. And so it was a terrific conversation, and I greatly prize that. Again, I've always been a big admirer of his art and what he did, but he is like one of the last greats that helped define that era, who now, like I said, sadly is past, and I just wanted to recognize that. And again, if you read some of his more recent stuff, go back to the 70s stuff, Dick Giordano inked stuff that he's also gone now. It's fantastic. It's just beautiful on the page. Incredibly creative man, influenced every artist of his era, and gone at 80. So, anyways,
he was a fixture at cons, and we would see him all the time. And he always had the biggest booth out of all the artists. I mean,
he did
really had a lot of stuff to show.
The man had, there's no question, he had an absolutely massive ego, but again, he was the real deal. He changed the industry, and like I said, when he could have just made it about him, he did a lot for other comic artists, and he set things in motion that continue today. Comic artists are not paid a great deal. Okay, most of them, most of the, and he was really the one who championed getting the art returned, and which was how a lot of artists make most of their money. So, anyways, Neil Adams.
Neil Adams, well said. Thank you. Okie dokie. Go watch all this stuff. Plenty of stuff to watch. It's a good time.
It is.
Surprisingly, to be a fan.
And we'll talk about something else next week.
I'm sure we will.
We'll figure out what that is later.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.